Issue 91. We start out seeing Rotor inexplicably in the Forbidden Zone all the way on Angel Island somehow, being on his way back home. He then sees some meteors crashing in front of him, and thinks that if not for a protective energy dome, Robotropolis would have been struck by those meteorites. Wait, the text blurb just said he was in the Forbidden Zone, so there's 2 Forbidden Zones? Rotor's curiosity causes him to take the risk of checking the dust-filled crash site where he finds Mina, and oh good, Sonic immediately drills up from the dirt below, revealing that he had saved himself with a spin dash underground. Makes sense, we know he can do that. I was worried that they would have this whole story arc where they think Sonic's dead. Mina reacts with anger born of worry at being worried so much just for Sonic to be all casual at surviving, naturally since she had lost her loved one earlier. And Sonic stays cheerful, explaining himself. Eggman for some reason deactivates the force field around Robotropolis, even though it could be the perfect way to prevent it from ever being stormed in an attack again. I guess it uses up so much energy they can't keep the force field up all the time. Eggman then throws a fit over discovering that the Sword of Acorn supposedly can't restore Robian's free will. Let me guess, Chuck and Muskie really are faking. I don't know why Eggman's so mad though, because either way, it's still the Sword of Acorns in his possession. Eggman decides not to strike down Chuck in anger, because Sonic's not here to see him do it, which is a relief. Dr. Quack advises showing the Queen around Knothole, and Sonic for some reason tells Rotor that Eggman is 10 times as evil as Robotnik. I have yet to see that, he's just doing the same things he does. I mean, with the early comic, they tried so hard to emphasize that Robotnik is the straw man, industrialist, evil guy. They had him ban music and stuff. They tried so hard, make him love poison and toxins. They never do anything like that with Eggman so far, so I don't see how he's eviler. Sonic tells Mina and Rotor to go home while he'll get the Sword of Acorns back, but for some reason Rotor calls Mina Kiddo, even though I thought she was the same age as Sonic. And after a shot of some airships in the dust, we see a ninja take the Sword of Acorns from above, causing Uncle Chuck to complain that he couldn't risk trying to stop Arachnus from stealing the sword because it would have caused a commotion, and teach Eggman that he's able to act independently. After all, Eggman implied in front of him that he doesn't want the sword, so why would a robot of his go and keep it from being stolen without his say-so? Chuck then looks on the bright side, that's probably better Arachnus has it, where Eggman might have tested it on another Robian and realized that it really does restore free will. Really, I doubt that. The Queen is happy to see Nate, and the two say they never thought they'd see each other again, which is sweet. And Nate says that they don't have time for reminiscing, and he'd rather she spend some time with Sally, who she gives a nice hug. We then see Arachnus beneath the streets of Robotropolis knocking on a door and giving the Sword of Acorns to Kodos. Sonic resigns himself to running away because he doesn't want to hurt innocent brainwashed Robians, and Chuck thinks to himself with regret that he could just go with Sonic, but someone's gotta keep an eye on Eggman. Fortunately, he considers finding a way to get in touch, and I'm looking forward to him setting up a spy network like in the good old days. The story ends with Sonic realizing the meteorites weren't meteorites at all, but actually spaceships. Probably the ones we saw occasionally in outer space as foreshadowing. I guess they had meteorites on the outside of them as a sort of disguise, so maybe they were made of meteorites from the outside. The second story has Fang impressing a woman until he notices a sword being thrown at his hat, and Nicolette shows up, without Fiona. So I doubt Fiona will be happy about this. I guess she abandoned her. Nicolette showing up unfortunately causes the girl he was impressing to slap him, assuming that he was married just because they're both the same species. Nicolette says that the two of them have been hired for a job that she can't do alone. And it turns out they're being hired to search for Knuckles. Wait, I thought she was against Fang because she's a bounty hunter, and therefore against criminals. But I guess my first assumption was right, and they really are friends, complete with Fang not attacking her for scaring a girl away. Fang is suspicious at first because the echidnas don't normally involve outsiders with their internal affairs, and instead of saying that they must be desperate, Nicolette forgoes the logical argument and just says any job comes with a risk. She tells Fang that she got an airship in trade from an old boyfriend, and says that she was told to meet some echidnas at a rendezvous point. Then we see Knuckles, who fortunately is inexplicably back to his good red design, and simply has green chaos energy surrounding him. Don't get used to this. Nicolette panics that the guidance system of the airship has gone automatic, and fortunately for them, someone from Albion calls them, saying that Albion Flight Control has simply assumed control of their vehicle, and are bringing them in nice and smooth to Albion. You know, they could have called them beforehand and kind of warned them so that they wouldn't panic. After Nicolette brags like a typical rival sibling that they came to her first, I do like the dynamic she and Fang have together, at least. It feels so natural. And the Albion Brotherhood gives Fang and Nicolette a recap on Knuckles, ending with them being more sympathetic as the woman says they'll pay Fang double if they bring Knuckles back alive. But she just said he was a danger to anyone he comes into contact with. Why do they want him alive? The story ends with Gala saying that Fang will unknowingly lead her to Knuckles, and only then will they dirty their hands. The first story was by Carl Bowlers, and not much of value really happens here. Rotor comes back home, going through some weird place, I don't know why it's called the Forbidden Zone. Arachnus steals the Sword of Acorns for Kodos, so Sonic wastes his time barking up the wrong tree, and it's revealed more openly that Chuck and Mutsky have regained their free will, and the Queen is officially back in business and ready to be a loving mother once again. Basically, it was a story of good news and suspense. I'm especially glad that Sonic ended up being revealed to be alive so quickly, because I was expecting his friends to assume he was dead for a while and waste our goddamn time with mourning someone we know they would never kill off for real. And the second story by Ken Pender says the Albion government continued to be totally genre blind by hiring Fang and Nicolette to go after Knuckles under the assumption that he's evil. Logically, they should be really happy that heroic Guardian has so much power at his disposal. But no! Because we need conflict. When I was hoping that Albion would have some antagonists, this wasn't really what I had in mind. I wanted it to be like a city with a dark secret, evil scientist experimenting or something. Not a stupid government that interferes with the hero. If there's one thing I gotta commend, it's that I like what a natural sibling dynamic Fang and Nicolette have. They get along pretty well, and Nicolette occasionally teases him trying to prove that she's better, but not with annoying arguments that break the pace or anything. It almost makes me forget the fact that she looks too much like Fang and was totally unnecessary.